What's up, Jesse? How we doing?
How do adult children create boundaries with parents when there are still siblings at home?
Give me an example. Walk me through it.
Yeah. Well, I've listened to like some of your shows that, my mom has a lot of narcissistic personality traits, and I have a lot of siblings. 5 of them are out of the house, and several more are still living in the house.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 12 siblings.
That a girl? Way to go, dude. That's a whole other show, right?
Yeah. So 5 are out, and I guess I'm bad at math, but the rest of them are at home.
Like 6 more are at home. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but with my mom, I think me and several of my other siblings are really struggling with creating boundaries with mainly my mom, but also my parents. And like I've listened to a lot of your shows where you've given advice to, create boundaries such as, we'll have Thanksgiving and Christmas without you until you can figure out your marriage. Mm-hmm. And in some ways that applies, and like limiting contact also applies, until I just think about like, I can't leave my siblings. Like I can't leave the rest of the ones at home. And I feel like lost there because, I feel like whenever I'm leaving, or creating boundaries, it really goes to my siblings also.
Okay. Are your siblings safe?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they being emotionally neglected? Are they being beat up? What are the things? What are the things your mom's doing that says that you are having to draw a line? You cannot be around me. You cannot be around my family.
I think I've been out of the house for 8 years.
Okay.
And I've had to go to like tons of therapy for myself, mm-hmm. just to go through a lot of that stuff.
You're giving me lots and lots of words. What is it about your mom?
Yeah. She, like, you don't know what it's like unless you're living there. Like, there's a really good front.
That's what I'm trying to ask you. You're
I know,
so
but
good.
It's hard because it's like, gosh, I haven't lived there for so long. I think that I've forgotten how bad it is. She's really manipulative.
But you have made the decision. I don't want my mom in my life. And I trust you. That's the right decision. All I'm asking you is, why have you made that decision 8 years later that I'm done?
She's hurt like me, and like just the words that she used growing up were really hurtful. Like for a long time, I wanted to feel loved, and a lot of my siblings were also struggling with that same thing. And when I lived at home, I would beg them. Like I was so depressed as a teenager, and I just needed help, like really badly. And I would go to the hospital with chest pain from how much anxiety I had. And like, we had social workers coming in, checking on us. And, nothing, and we were so scared. Like all of us kids, we were so scared about being taken away and everything. We were like the perfect family. But my mom, she's emotionally hurtful. Like when I lived there, she would go away to a room for like days on end, and like my dad is still at home, so my parents are together, and he didn't, like, while I was living there, he didn't really have a lot to do. Like he kind of checked out. He would get home and take over house responsibilities and stuff, and my mom would check out, and my dad was just not there. And
so let me tell you this. It is really hard to grow up in the house of parents that have mental health issues because they look normal, they present normal, and then they disappear, right?
Yeah.
And you feel whispers or ghosts of the person you think they should be or that you desperately need them to be, and they're not. And in some ways, it feels like it would be easier if they just weren't there. because there's not that disconnect between, I know they're right in that room, and what is it about me that they won't even come out of that room to see their own kid, right? It's almost easier if they're just not there because they can't come see you because they're in another state, right?
Yes.
And
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and it just was like the only time that my mom would ever say anything good about me was like when I would do something really good, and like she could post it on social media being like, look at my daughter, she graduated at the top of her class. And then like, that was the only good thing that was ever said. Otherwise, like the word she used is I was the poison of the family because I was the oldest one living at home at the time. Yeah. And I would like beg my parents, like, can we please, we need help. Like, my siblings are coming to me asking for help and I don't know what to do. And, we need counseling or family counseling. And I was just the poison of the family at that time.
Listen. They shouldn't have told you that. I'm sorry. No parent should ever tell their kid that they're poison. Okay? That should never have happened. And I'm sorry that did. And you're going to have a twofold thing going on here. Number one, you've got to take care of yourself. Your boundaries are yours. Nobody else's. They're not your brothers and sisters. They're not your mom and dad's. They're not your grandpa. They're yours. Okay? And so you have to develop those strong boundaries. Apologize to no one. They are what they are so that you can function and be whole and well. Okay? The second thing is, if your brother and sisters, the 7 kids still living in that home, are experiencing what you're experiencing now, then you have an obligation to call somebody. Those are 2 separate things, okay? And they're just children. And unfortunately, it's landed in your lap, and you got to make that phone call. I think you know that.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. If you're
listen, so surreal.
It is, and you're in the middle of it. And if it blows up everything, that won't be your fault. You will have helped solve an issue that's been ongoing for years and years and years and years. Okay. Okay. And if your brothers and sisters are being neglected for days on end, if they are calling you crying, saying, help, 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 then yeah, you've got to help. That's what a big sister does. That's what a community member does. You got to make that phone call. And if your dad can hear it, then you start with him and say, I'm giving this 1 month and then I'm going to call social worker and come get the kids because I'm not doing this.
I do have something about that. Uh-huh. My dad, one of my other brothers who's also out of the house, took my dad out to breakfast, because my mom was concerned about his mental health and so was my brother. And then my dad kind of revealed like this huge, pretty much his disgust with my mom and their marriage and everything. And
absolutely.
And he's also dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and that's part of why this became a thing now. Like for me specifically, is because I am concerned about my siblings.
But Jesse, like you can't fix your mom and dad. You can't. Yeah. You can never achieve your way to being loved by them. There's not a right way to make this call. There's not a right way to tell them, I don't want y'all in my life for the next season while I heal. There's not a way to do that they can hear it and be like, oh, that's cool, we get it. They can't. They're not well. And your whole life has been about making sure they leave you alone, that they are okay so you can go about doing your thing, even to the point that you gave up your thoughts and your dreams and the things you want to do so you could get the right grades so your mom could post the right thing about her poisoned daughter. Right?
Right.
And 8 years out of that house, you're still living in it. Still. And you have these imaginary conversations over and over about if I could just sit down and say this and not say that. And right? Am I crazy?
No, that's right.
And it's exhausting. And you are poisoning yourself every day hoping that they die. And that's just not going to work that way.
I think I wonder to myself, like, is it even the right thing to call someone? Because, like, I just have it in my head, like, and people, I've talked to people since then. They're like, well, you know, most of you guys have turned out fine so far. You know, it's.
Hey, Jesse, you're not fine, and you know that. You are really, really good at performing. You're good at it. Academy Award level. You're not fine. Right?
Right.
Just thinking about how your mom talked to you opens a wound up, right? It's right there at the surface. You've done a lot of therapy so you can get through a day and have normal relationships and friends. You're not okay.
What would that look like for my siblings?
Every single situation is different. That's why this is messy. And I want you to be under no illusions that this is a simple thing. Do you get with the other 5 brothers and sisters and say, hey, we're all going to have to figure this out? We're going to have a group call here because I'm not letting this happen? Or do you meet with your mom and dad together and say, if y'all don't start seeing somebody and getting medicated and start getting well, I'm going to do what I can to get these kids out of this house? And it may look like those kids 2 of them going to one brother and one of them going to one sister. Here's the thing. There is not a way that this isn't messy going forward. It's messy if you don't say anything. Then that cycle continues. It's messy if you blow the whole thing up and call the Child Protective Services of your state or area and they come in swarming. It's messy if you call a social worker who says, we're going to teach your mom and dad and get them the help they need. It's messy just regardless. And I hate this for you. You didn't ask for this. You don't deserve this, but it just is. And you should not be having to do this by yourself. You should have brothers and sisters who know exactly what your other ones, what their siblings are going through. And they do. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. We've had a little meeting this year already to discuss my dad's mental health.
Okay.
So, and I just think that it just feels, I don't want to say extreme because I don't know if it's extreme or not, but to call social services on my own parents and to, you know, and my siblings living there, like, they'll do normal activities too, but you just don't hear, like, it's just not spoken of unless, you know, like my youngest, or one of my younger brothers living at home saw my dad sitting on the bed with a gun, just because my dad was suicidal at the time. And, like, that's just stuff I don't want my siblings to go through.
Jesse, listen. Do you hear what the words coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
You got to make that call. And you probably got to get all your brothers and sisters together, and y'all have to decide together, this is going to be the weekend we do this. And if your dad hauls off and takes his own life, that is not on you. It's not. If your mother says, see, I told you so after all these years, that's not on you. If they uncover all sorts of things with interviewing your brothers and sisters, it's just a mess. And it may be that your dad is begging for somebody to reach out and say, hey, you're not okay. Let's get you the help you need. Let's get you somewhere. It may be that your mom is begging. Here's the thing. You can't solve your mom and dad's problems. They have to decide they want to get well. But if you've got underage kids in that house, walking in on your dad holding a gun, you got to step in. You got to make that call. You have to. Okay, Jesse, I hate this for you. I hate this for your brothers and sisters. I hate this for anybody who is trying to stop generational or legacy abuse and emotional trauma and trying to love their parents through mental illness. It's so hard. It's devastating. Tears upon tears, loss of sleep, but that doesn't mean it's not the right thing. What I want you to do is to go see, I want you, before you make any phone calls, I want you, Jesse, to go call somebody. Whether that's an online therapist, whether that's an in-person therapist, I want you to go meet with somebody and say, I'm going to weigh in here. The time has come for me to weigh in, and it's going to be hard. And I want you to get a game plan with the professional therapist, then call in your brothers and sisters and say, here's the game plan, here's what we're going to do. And then somebody's going to volunteer and say, we're going in. We're going to sit down with mom and dad and say, here's what's about to happen. And we're going to get the kids out of that house, and we're going to split them up among the brothers and sisters until things are well, or we're going to call services, or y'all are going to commit to X, Y, or Z. Dad, you're going to get committed. Mom, you're going to have to step up. This is not y'all's house to run, but those kids need somebody to step in and advocate for them. They need an ally soon, today. Because you know why? You needed that too. And I hate the fact that nobody showed up for you, Jesse. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And now's your chance, you and your brothers and sisters, to turn and face this forest fire that's raging through your family and say, no more. We're done. And we don't even know how this is going to look, and it's going to be a disaster. But we're turning, we're going to face this thing down. No more. Let me know how that goes. Let me know how that session goes. Let me know how that conversation goes. Do not think this is going to be easy. This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever had to do. That doesn't mean it's not right. Often the hardest things we have to do are the rightest things we have to do.